It's been over a decade since Danganronpa first hit our screens, turning a niche visual novel into a global phenomenon. Or somewhat, it's generally considered a mediocre, heavily rushed adaptation that acts more as a Cliff Notes summary of the Trigger Happy Havoc game rather than a substitute. I realized while I was making my usual videos, I still remember my old video on this topic, and how much it sucks because I was still learning YouTube. So instead, to celebrate my love for Trigger Happy Havoc, let's change it. This is the ultimate deep dive of Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. First, let's do a quick rundown on what Trigger Happy Havoc is specifically before we get into the development. The player controls a high school student named Makoto Naegi who finds himself involved in a battle royale in Hope's Peak Academy, where the robot bear Monokuma gives the students the chance to escape from the establishment if they murder another student and are not voted as the killer in a trial. The game originated from writer Kazutaka Kodaka's idea to generate a new type of game, as he believed the original adventure games were no longer popular. As a result, he created a dark scenario that generated controversy within Spike due to the amount of violence displayed among students. Nevertheless, the company decided to develop it alongside the unique gameplay system which they thought was less derivative from other games. The cast was designed by Rui Komatsuzaki. Rui Komatsuzaki has also worked on a couple of popular games, mainly as background art and character design. It's much more complicated, but that is the very basic. Let's get onto the development of the animation. The road to the Danganronpa anime actually began at Studio Lerche during the production of Carnival Phantasm. Producer Yuji Higa became obsessed with the newly released Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, and quickly recommended it to director Seiji Kishi and screenwriter Makoto Uezu. The rest of the staff soon followed suit, becoming hooked on the game's unique world. A major reason the project resonated with them was that the original game was created by a small staff with a low budget and limited resources, a situation the team at Lerche deeply related to. With his colleagues on board, Higa drafted an anime proposal for Spike, later Spike Chunsoft, making sure to emphasize his deep knowledge of the lore and his respect for the game's psychopop visual presentation. However, when the proposal reached the original Team Danganronpa at Spike, they were initially hesitant. They didn't believe such a dense mystery could be properly abridged into just 13 episodes. Higa's team was insistent on retelling the story while maintaining the exact visual details and feeling of the game. Once the series was approved, the game's creator, Kazutaka Kodaka, joined the project as a supervisor. Kodaka was incredibly hands-on, visiting the studio every week and often staying so late that he would miss the last train home. Despite this dedication, the team faced an uphill battle fitting the entire narrative into the 13-episode limit. Large portions of the script had to be cut, and while the staff remained pleased with how they captured the personality of the series, they ultimately felt they couldn't fully adapt the game's script in a way they were completely satisfied with. Danganronpa. The animation was first publicly announced in the December 2012 issue of Kadokawa Shoten's New Type magazine. While it was originally slated for spring 2013, the release was eventually pushed back to July. The series saw a massive marketing push, appearing on the covers of major magazines like Animedia, Animage, and Otamedia. The hype was magnificent, with Famitsu readers ranking it as the 6th most anticipated series of the summer 2013 season. Fans got their first taste of the anime's energy on April 8, 2013, at the Anime Contents Expo, where the first opening, a remix of the original game theme, was revealed. By June 18, the ending theme, Zetsubose, Hiro Kairyoyaku, was officially announced, rounding out the show's iconic sound. The series finally made its debut on June 23, 2013, with a premiere event for Episode 1. Hosted by Megumi Ogata, the voice of Makoto Naegi, alongside Yuji Higa, Seiji Kishi, and Kazutaka Kodaka, the event was broadcast live from Roppongi to 10 cinemas across Japan. The series officially began its television run on MBS Animeism Block on July 4, 2013, running through September 26. For international fans, the series was licensed by Funimation, who handled the North American simulcast. This launch marked the beginning of Danganronpa's transition from a niche handheld game into a full-blown global phenomenon, even if the adaptation itself would remain a point of debate for years to come. To ensure the anime's launch was a massive event, a series of creative promotions were rolled out across Japan. From April 24 to May 21, 2013, an illustration contest was held on the art-sharing platform Pixiv. Fans were tasked with drawing characters from Trigger Happy Havoc, with the winners hand-picked by the anime staff themselves. The stakes were high. Prizes included exclusive merchandise and signed autographs from both director Seiji Kishi and the legendary original character designer, Rui Komatsuzaki. The best entries, including the grand prize winner by the artist, Hagi, were later immortalized in a compilation art book titled The Pixiv X Danganronpa The Animation Illustration Collection. I actually managed to track down a copy of this book on eBay, and seeing the community's early passion for these characters really highlights how much hype was building before the first episode even aired. There are way more that are not featured, so I'll link a blog that shows them all down in the description. As the July premiere approached, the marketing moved from the digital space into the heart of Tokyo. Starting June 24, 2013, massive promotional posters were displayed at 15 major stations along the Yamanote line. In a nod to the cast, each station featured a different character from the 15 ultimate students. From the neon lights of Akihabara and Shinjuku to the fashion hubs of Shibuya and Harajuku, you couldn't traverse Tokyo without coming face to face with the students of Hope's Peak Academy. Combined with a massive feature poster in Akihabara, the message was clear: Danganronpa was no longer just a niche PSP game. It was taking over the city. Now, I mentioned this Famitsu website, which I want to make its own part in the video, because it has a bit more interesting information. This is translated to English, so the translation might be a bit wonky or not fully correct. On June 23, 2013, a special advanced screening and talk show for the first episode of the TV anime, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc the Animation, was held in Roppongi, Tokyo. As it was the world's fastest screening of the TV anime, Danganronpa. This wasn't just a quiet TV premiere, it was a massive, high-stakes event billed as the world's fastest screening. The demand was so overwhelming that it was broadcast via live cinema viewing to 6 theaters across Japan, bringing together nearly 8,000 fans simultaneously. The guests of honor were the principals of the series, Megumi Ogata, the legendary voice of Makoto Naegi, director Seiji Kishi, and screenwriter Makoto Uezu. But before the lights went down, Ogata dropped a bombshell that perfectly illustrates how down to the wire this production was. She told the crowd that she was actually watching the finished episode for the very first time right along with them. In the early production copies she had been given to review, not all the drawings were even finished yet. This was a team working right up until the last second to perfect the vision. Ogata, who had dubbed herself the publicity captain for the series, urged the fans, most of whom were hardcore veterans of the game, to look for the small details. She pointed out that in the original game, you really only heard the characters speak during the intense class trials. The anime was the first time fans got to see these ultimate students in their everyday lives. Seeing them walk, interact, and just exist in the halls of Hope's Peak was a massive selling point for the adaptation. Once the screening ended, director Seiji Kishi and screenwriter Makoto Uezu took the stage, and the tone shifted from celebration to the brutal reality of anime production. If you ever wondered why the pacing feels so breathless, it's because the staff was living it. Kishi admitted to the crowd, half laughing but probably dead serious, that the work was really tough, and he hadn't been getting much sleep. Uezu went even further, revealing he had been working until that very morning and that the first episode, the one the fans had just watched, wasn't even finished until 2 or 3 days prior. They were literally racing against the clock to make the Roppongi premiere happen. But then, Megumi Ogata shared a story that reveals the true heart of Studio Lerche's mission. She recalled a rap party for a completely different anime where producer Yuji Higa approached her with a secret. He showed her a video that shouldn't have existed, a presentation animation, where the only thing moving was Monokuma. This wasn't an official trailer. It was a fan pitch the staff had made on their own time just to beg Spike to let them make the show. They were essentially saying, "We love this game so much that we're already animating it for free. Please just let us do this." This obsessive love for the source material reached all the way to the top. Owada told another hilarious story about running into director Seiji Kishi at a bar in Kabukicho long before he was even tied to the project. When she saw him, he was just some guy with a Monokuma plushie dangling off his bag. When she pointed it out, Kishi just shrugged and said, "I'm just a fan." If you ever wondered why the Danganronpa anime feels like it's running at 200 miles per hour, the answer lies in a smoky corner of a Japanese izakaya. During the talk show, the staff revealed that the process of adapting a 30-hour visual novel into a 13-episode series was a literal nightmare of subtraction. The team was a triple threat of leaders. Seiji Kishi was the public face, Makoto Uezu was the behind-the-scenes architect, and Kazutaka Kodaka, the original creator of the game, was the shadow leader. Megumi Ogata shared a hilarious, but kind of tragic, story about crashing one of these sessions. She was sitting in a pub, drinking with the sound director, while the writers were at the table next to them having a full-blown crisis. As anyone who has played Trigger Happy Havoc knows, every piece of dialogue is a clue. There is no filler to cut. Ogata watched as Makoto Uezu presented a script he had already, stoically, cut to the bone. He thought he was done. But the director, Seiji Kishi, looked at it and dropped a bombshell: "We need to cut 9 more pages." 9 pages of a script is an eternity in anime time. To make it work, Kishi turned to Ogata and told her to cut 5 or 6 lines of Naegi's actual spoken dialogue and replace them with nothing. He literally told her, "Just represent all those thoughts with a, you can handle that, right?" Ogata joked to the crowd that she didn't even understand what that meant at the time. But if you go back and watch the anime now, pay close attention to those moments where Naegi is just staring in silence with an ellipsis over his head. Those aren't just dramatic pauses. Those are 5 or 6 lines of actual game dialogue that were sacrificed to the 20-minute runtime.
The message wasn't a string of numbers. She wrote out her killer's name!
The first volume of the Danganronpa, the animation Blu-ray and DVD, released on August 28th. But this wasn't just a basic disc in a plastic case. Because the staff knew they had to cut so much from the TV broadcast, they packed the physical release with enough ultimate extras to make any collector's head spin. First off, the packaging itself was a work of art. The limited first edition featured a stunning slipcase illustrated by the series' original character designer, Rui Komatsuzaki. This was a huge deal for fans because it brought back that edgy, scratchy game art style that was so iconic to the PSP version. Inside, you'd find even more art with a special digipack featuring new anime-style illustrations. I will touch more on the DVDs in the next section. It was also announced that Spike Chunsoft's Danganronpa merchandise will be sold at the Summer Comiket in 2013 by Hope's Peak Academy School Store, and a store selling anime merchandise. The booths will be number 552 Danganronpa Hope's Peak Academy School Store, and number 553 Rondo Robe, and the two companies will be exhibiting together in the corporate booths on the 4th floor of the West Hall at Comic Market 84. The promotional video and commercial for the recently announced PlayStation Vita title, Danganronpa 1-2 Reload, details here, have been released for the first time. The promotional video showcases the new school mode from Danganronpa 1, featuring cute pixel art characters, as well as event scenes including a conversation with Sayaka Meizano, a timid Kiyotaka Ishimaru, and a threatening Byakuya Tagami. This is the only quality I could get for this photo, apologies. But I believe these are the posters that were featured around the station. Pretty cute. I'm not able to find which character was at what station, so if anyone knows any information, leave it in the comments. We'll now move on to the broadcasts and physical releases. The series officially began its television run on July 4, 2013, airing on MBS, iconic, Animeism, programming block. It quickly spread across other major networks like TBS, CBC, and BSTBS, running through the end of September. But for the hardcore fans, they had so much more waiting than just 20 minutes of screen time. To get the true version of the anime, you had to look at the physical releases. Starting on August 28, 2013, Studio Lerche took on the role of distributor, releasing the series across 7 Blu-ray and DVD volumes. Most of these volumes followed the standard format of 2 episodes each, but Volume 7 is where things get interesting for a deep dive. Because the staff struggled so much with the 13-episode limit, the version of the finale that aired on TV was actually incomplete. To fix this, Volume 7 included an exclusive, unaired, director's cut of episode 13. This extended version gave the final class trial the breathing room it desperately needed, adding back some of the tension and dialogue that had been lost in the frantic race to the finish line. On December 31, 2014, Funimation dropped a New Year's Eve bombshell. They had officially acquired the North American home video rights to Danganronpa, the animation. This was the moment fans had been waiting for, but when the cast list was finally revealed on April 4, 2015, it sent shockwaves through the fandom. In a move that's still debated today, the English dub cast for the anime was almost entirely different from the original game's cast. For fans who had spent 30 hours bonding with the game's voices, hearing a whole new set of actors for characters like Kyoko or Tagami was a massive adjustment. The only ultimate survivor of this casting overhaul was Bryce Papenbrook, who reprised his role as Makoto Naegi. Why was he the lucky one? Well, it wasn't just luck. He was already in the Funimation booth at the time recording for Attack on Titan, where he voiced Eren Yeager, making it easy for the studio to keep his voice consistent. For everyone else, though, the anime became a multiverse of voices that still confuses new fans today. Finally, on November 10, 2015, the wait ended. Funimation released the full series as a Blu-ray and DVD combo, giving fans both the English and Japanese audio options. They didn't skimp on the packaging, either. A limited edition set was released the same day in a massive collectible box. But Funimation knew that not everyone has the budget for such a large collection. On February 7, 2017, they released the SAVE edition, Super Amazing Value Edition. The Killing Game didn't stop in America, either. Manga Entertainment brought the despair to the UK on November 9, 2015, and Madman Entertainment handled the Australian release in early 2016. Whether you were in London, Sydney, or Tokyo, by 2016, there was no escaping Monokuma. The international rollout hit Germany. Licensed by Filmkonfekt in 2016, the series was released across 4 volumes, but the finale faced massive delays due to a literal legal dispute between the publisher and the German voice of Kyoko Kirigiri, Franziska Fried. The fallout was so intense that they actually had to bring in a new actress, Johanna Dust, to completely redub Kyoko's lines. I found this article that explains the legal dispute a bit better. It's translated from Germany to English, so there might be some mistakes. But it states that German voice actors Franziska Fried and Marcel Mann obtained an injunction against publisher Filmkonfekt following public disputes over poor payment practices and a refusal to work on the series. The court order prohibits the publisher from claiming the actors breached their contracts, with violations risking significant fines or imprisonment, which ultimately is what forced them to change voice actors for Kyoko. Now, we can move on to the art for the DVDs and what they had in them. From Lerche, on June 3, 2016, a new Blu-ray box set of the series was released with additional voice commentary for each episode, the unaired extended director's cut of episode 13, an exclusive outer case, and an exclusive booklet. These are the standard editions that were in Japan. And these are the limited editions, which I'll show up close. They are numbered, but there isn't a 4 or 7. I'm not sure if this is the wiki glitching, they numbered them wrong on purpose, or they just didn't make a 4 or 7th limited edition. The series is also available to rent through Japanese DVD rental company Geo with a set of exclusive covers. These are the DVDs included for the English dubs. All English releases include the same bonus on disc content, Episode 1 commentary, textless openings and endings, and director's cut version of Episode 13. Germany's art wasn't anything new, but there were actually some cute pre-order bonuses. There were limited edition versions of all 4 volumes. Each included a booklet with information and illustrations from the anime, and a number of character postcards featuring their talent introduction card in German. Volume 2 also included a pillow, and Volume 4 included a pin. Spanish publisher Japan Weekend Anime announced they had obtained the license to release Danganronpa, the animation on September 30, 2017 through their official Twitter account. Later, on November 29, 2017 a DVD and Blu-ray of the entire series was released under the title Danganronpa, Serie Completa, with Spanish subtitles and Japanese audio. I found this adorable website for the animation. It sadly won't translate everything, but we can go over some of the stuff mentioned. The character section is actually so cute, when you hover your mouse over, it's the bullet telescope thing. And the photos are very good high-resolution quality. The Blu-ray and DVD section gives a bit more details, which is nice for those who weren't aware how much it costed or when it would release. There were also CDs for the original soundtracks. These are all mangas and books. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually show what's in the books and mangas, at least not on this website. But the etc. section shows lots of goodies. The special section is a bunch of different items involving the cast. I translated it with Google Translate, so take the translations with a grain of salt. The first video seems to be some sort of gameplay for Trigger Happy Havoc. I'll link the full video below. These are all the cast comments. I really encourage you guys to go look at your favorite character and what the person voiced them had to say. It's super sweet. These are the staff comments, and again, they are just the sweetest. This section involves cute comics explaining the very basics of Danganronpa, featuring Monokuma. They won't translate, but it's really charming to see how much the cast put into such little things, even like a silly comic explaining what Hope's Peak is. The last station is for radio, which is its own radio show. The host is Megumi Ogata, who plays Makoto Naegi. But when I tried to click on both links, one took me to download an app, and one didn't have that specific page working. Call me the ultimate lucky, because I have found a recording of these radio recordings on SoundCloud. I'll play the first couple of seconds, but I'll have the full audio linked below.
Danganronpa G アニメーション希望のラジオと絶望の尾形。皆さん、弾丸は
As I dived deeper, I found this Reddit post detailing all the special guests and episodes. There are no English subs or dubs, however, but I will link it below if you want to check out the episodes for yourself. So, after peeling back the layers of this production, I've realized that my old perspective was missing the point. It's easy to look at Danganronpa, the animation and see the cuts, the pacing, and the fast structure and take it at face value. But when you look at the late-night script sessions in pubs, the ghost animations made on zero budget, a different story emerges. Even though it may have seemed rushed, we can tell how treasured this project was to those involved, and genuinely how much effort they put into making the anime even possible to air. It wasn't just a 13-episode show, it was a scavenger hunt across Tokyo, a series of radio broadcasts filled with Owada's despair, and a collection of physical treasures meant to reward the fans of all degrees. In the end, this anime was never meant to replace the game. It was a celebration of everything that made us fall in love with Hope's Peak Academy in the first place. Looking back at it now, I'm just glad it exists.